Inside the race for a vaccine, we're with the team at Imperial College London using a revolutionary new approach to develop a solution to COVID.
It means that we can make the equivalent of 2 million doses in the volume of a litre. So you imagine a litre bottle of lemonade, that would have 2 million doses in it.
Imposing new restrictions, New York and 2 other states clamped down on travellers from the US, where infection rates are surging. 3 suspects arrested after the killing of a black jogger, Ahmaud Arbery, are indicted on murder charges. And in Moscow, the traditional show of military power on Victory Day, as President Putin prepares to ask for a further term in office. The US appeals court has directed a federal judge to drop the criminal case against President Trump's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn. Mr. Flynn was fired after just 22 days for lying about his contacts with Russians and pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI. He later asked to withdraw his plea and the case was handed to a district judge. This overruling effectively ends the politically charged case. The International Monetary Fund says the coronavirus pandemic is damaging the world economy even more than it previously forecast. The IMF now predicts that the global output this year will shrink by nearly 5% and wipe $12 trillion off global output over 2 years. China is the only large economy forecast to grow at all this year by just 1%. One of the largest companies in the British aviation industry, Swissport UK, is reducing its workforce by more than half. The airport ground handling firm is cutting more than 4,000 jobs, which it says is a result of the coronavirus pandemic wiping off 3/4 of its revenue since May. Only 68 people in France have used the government's new coronavirus contact tracing app to record an infection, despite it being launched over 3 weeks ago. The Stop COVID app has alerted just 14 people that they've been in close contact with an infected person.
The Australian airline Qantas is to cut 6,000 jobs because of the pandemic. It says another 15,000 employees will remain stood down until international flights resume. Its CEO says its Airbus A380 aircraft will not be used for the next 3 years. Well, President Trump has said the US will be sending troops to Poland to boost the country's defence capabilities and bolster NATO's eastern flank against Russian aggression. He met the Polish President Andrzej Duda. This is the first visit of a foreign leader to Washington since the coronavirus travel restrictions were put in place. Mr. Duda said he welcomed the prospect of greater American presence in Poland.
If anyone wants to attack Poland, it won't be a soft landing for that entity. It won't pay off for such an aggressor, because the strongest army in the world is present, and they would help Polish soldiers defend our borders.
Poland is one of the few countries that are fulfilling their obligations under NATO, in particular their monetary obligations, and they asked us if we would send some additional troops. They're going to pay for that. They'll be paying for the sending of additional troops, and we'll probably be moving them from Germany to Poland.
The lower house of Parliament in Gabon has voted to decriminalise homosexuality. If that proposal is approved, it will be one of the few countries in sub-Saharan Africa to decriminalise same-sex relationships. It is still punishable by death in Mauritania, Sudan, northern Nigeria and southern Somalia. Makers of the Segway electric scooter in the United States are discontinuing it from the middle of next month. It was launched with much fanfare, you may remember, 2 decades ago, and it claims it would revolutionise personal transport. But the price tag was pretty prohibitive and there were concerns over safety and never really took off widely.